Tom Barnes, Chicago scene in the Fulton Market neighborhood, hanging out here in the West Loop. He goes, why not? It's a beautiful day, go for a little stroll. And one of the premier winemakers in the world says, hey, I want to talk to you and talk to you about my book. Will you say yes? So I'm going to talk to Tor Kenward, who is going to be in Chicago tonight. Obviously, this Chicago scene segment is going to air afterwards, but either way, I thought I'd talk to him about his career and the rise of Napa Valley, because he's been there since the beginning. Before Napa was even a destination, he's been there and has watched it grow up around him, and he talks about it in his book now. So let's go hang out with him for the Chicago scene. All right, checking out our skyline as it's continuously being built. A friend of mine stopped in town for a wine signing event, book signing, I should say, wine events. This is Tor. You can sign wine too?
I've been known to.
Yes, Tor Kenward. How are you, sir?
I'm fine, Tom. It's nice to be in Chicago again.
I know you said you haven't been in Chicago since before the pandemic, and we're still here. We're still doing our thing. So welcome back. Appreciate the having you.
And I mean this sincerely. It's one of my favorite cities. I used to love San Francisco, where I'm close to.
Yeah.
Chicago, I hate to say this, is cooler.
I agree. I do love San Francisco, but I heard it's a little rough in the summertime because it's foggy all summer long.
Yeah, Mark Twain said, I think the coldest winter he ever spent was summer in San Francisco.
Sounds about right. Maybe he wasn't here though for winters in Chicago. I'm just saying. But either way, You have an interesting life, my friend, because you started off owning a jazz club in Southern California, decided you wanted to ditch that and head to Napa Valley when there was really no Napa Valley that we recognize today. You were kind of a pioneer in that aspect and decided to chase this winemaking dream. And you've done well for yourself, so to speak.
Yeah, I fell through a big rabbit hole. This is 50 years ago. When I came to Napa Valley, there were less than 50 wineries, no destination restaurants, no hotels really to speak of. It was get the tourists out at night, let us do our agricultural business, and now, it's one of the great destinations for wine and food in the world.
Yes, and when I was reading about you, it mentions that you were friends with Julia Child. Your mentor was Robert Mondavi. Those are some big, gigantic names in the wine industry and the culinary world, and that all just happened with you just being who you are and finding your way, starting off in the vineyards and then having your own label.
Yeah, it was just right place, right time. We were exploding as far as our interest in wine and food. At that time, actually America was. Julia was an icon, and we did become very good friends. I joined a couple boards that she was the head of, and we just had an amazing history watching Napa Valley and actually the whole food scene and wine scene in America grow the last 50 years. It's a great piece of history, and that was one of the reasons why I wrote the book, was to really focus on that passage of time, and it's written through people like Julia and Bob Mondavi, Andre Chilichev, and some of the great mentors that I've had.
So you've been in the wine industry in the Napa Valley region since the 70s, and here we are, 2022, looking forward. What is some of your proudest moments in that time that you have in the book?
Well, one was recent last year. They redid the famous Paris tasting where mano mano you had the great Burgundies and the Bordeauxs go against the small little guys in Napa Valley. And in 1976, we fared extremely well. It became quite a big story around the world. They redid it last year, and our wine was the #1 red wine in the world, which was quite a surprise, honestly, and it was quite a thrilling time for me.
Yeah, that's no small feat. And I read on there that you have helped produce wines that have scored 100. And I mentioned that to somebody, and they're like, "No, that's impossible. I can't do that." I'm like, "No, I'm pretty sure I read it in when I was looking you up, and sure enough, it's there." How explain that one?
Well, there are critics that give wines 100 points. So at that particular time in the life of the critic and the wine, it's 100 points. It's perfect.
Right.
And we did have 8 of those last year and 4 on one wine alone.
That's incredible. How does that happen? Like, is it all just a perfect recipe together? I mean, you mentioned, I was watching some of your videos about how you chew the seeds, and that's kind of an old school way of testing out the seeds and the grapes from a very primitive stage in the process. I mean, does that all go in with it?
Yeah, I mean, there's science in winemaking, and we all follow the science in winemaking, but there's things that the human being does that science can't really tell you to do. One is, the taste, the smell, and the design of the wine. Not design of the wine, but really the shape of the wine. That's really an individual thing that I can help shape by certain techniques in winemaking. When I'm picking the grapes, I actually look at what science is telling me, but I also chew on the seeds, and the seeds tell me almost a better window of when to pick than the science does, because when the seeds start turning from the green, really tart type of seed to more of a walnut type of seed, you know that you're headed in the right direction. Your window's very small, you should pick soon.
That's incredible. I feel like I should be taking notes, but thank God I had this video rolling for me, because I'm getting some information from one of the best in the industry. And as far as what Napa has turned into now, I mean, it's been in movies, it's been blogged about, everything else, and you were a part of that from the infancy stage of that. Is there something that you want to hang your hat on that you help shape the Napa Valley region, or is this just in general the entire experience now?
Yeah, it is the whole experience, because I'm one of many that lived a really great period of time seeing this Napa Valley really evolve, come of age, if you will.
Yeah.
And
along with yourself.
Well, yeah, I sort of.
Well, I mean, you've been there for 40 odd years, right? So
I've evolved too. My hair's a lot grayer, and hopefully I'm a little wiser. Maybe not. But it was a collective effort. Making fine wine is actually a game of, if you will, relationships. It's the friends you make. It's the friends who help you in the tough times, when you get knocked down by fire, earthquakes, Mother Nature.
Because there's been a lot of that in the region lately.
We've had our battles,
yeah.
And and when we get knocked down, we have actually a lot of neighbors that gang up and become part of our story and help us get back on our feet. So I look at modern Napa Valley as an area of people that are really looking after each other, and instead of silos, if you will, it's a community that gets together, supports each other, and it's one of the great environments for somebody to work in and to live in. So
Right.
I'm really lucky.
Yeah, and I feel like it stands on its own as far as other wine regions in the world. I think Napa Valley has really, it is the American way to do wine, really, right?
Yeah, take a look at the Paris tasting again, you know. So yeah, I think we've earned our stripes. I will put Napa Valley's top wines against any wines in the world, and to do that with great security.
Do you have a favorite wine that you go to as your one that you choose most often?
Well, Cabernet Sauvignon is still the king as far as I'm concerned. So if I'm drinking Napa, I'll go with Cabernet as my Cabernet Sauvignon is my first.
It's been a pleasure talking with you. And you did write this book that you kind of encapsulated all of that. What's the name of the book, and where can people buy it?
It's called Reflections of a Vintner, and it's got a little subtitle, but Reflections of a Vintner. And it's on Amazon, Barnes & Noble. It's on all the usual platforms and suspects.
And
It was actually on Good Morning America 2 weeks ago as their pick. And there's a great review in Forbes and People magazine on the book.
Well, I look forward to heading out to Napa, knocking on your door, and sharing a glass of wine with you, sir.
Door's always open.
Fantastic. We'll see you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tom.
All right, that was Tor Kenward, TBARNAS at WGNTV.com. If you have a suggestion for the Chicago scene, that's tbarnes at WGNTV.com. I'll see you later.